Hi, welcome to the shed. I'm working on a Bally game show CPU board, and this board's both CPU and driver. The board's got a fault where a bunch of lights, like there are eight lights on the pinball, are not illuminating. In case you didn't know, lights on a pinball machine are driven in a matrix of rows and columns, and where the row and the column intersects is where the light will light up. And on this particular board, the columns are driven by these transistors and the rows by these. So it's a fairly common fault on pinball machines for these output transistors to blow. Maybe someone was changing a light and accidentally shorted out the lamp socket with one of the high voltage points underneath the play field, and these very commonly just get destroyed or go faulty. So we tracked down the lights in question, and indeed it's all 8 lights on the row driven by this transistor here, Q83. So in order to, the first suspect for me was, is this transistor faulty? I did some testing in circuit with a multimeter, and the transistor looked okay, but I wasn't really convinced enough. So I pulled the transistor out of circuit, and it seems fine to me. I can't really see a fault with the transistor. So digging around a bit further, I fell into a trap that I've fallen into before, and that is that I pulled out my logic probe. Now, for much of the circuit on these CPU area here, using a logic probe is useful for me, and it really does show whether something's working or not. And quite commonly, you might probe the output of the PIA and see it going high and low. The signal from the PIA comes to these inverters here. So the signal comes to these inverters, and then the output of the inverters drives these transistors. So what I did see was the output of the inverters wasn't going high and low, but the input was. So I immediately thought that the inverter must be faulty, or something out here is pulling the line down. But lo and behold, I've fallen into this trap before. These particular inverters are 7406, and they're not a real true logic IC. Their output is what's known as a open collector. So effectively, how these inverters work is they take a logic input going high and low, but their output can really only produce a low, and it requires something outside of the inverter to pull it high. So I've redrawn this circuit so that it suits my brain a little better. And we can see here inside the 7406, there's really just an NPN transistor going down to ground. And whilst this transistor can pull its output to ground low, it itself can't produce a high. So something in this circuitry needs to produce the high. And it's pretty obvious here that it's this resistor. So this resistor provides a pull-up for this line, and the inverter will pull it down to ground. So if I can't see, well, I then thought,